So today we're going to take a look again at the analog Mega SG and the Sega CD. Not because we need to test or anything, we already know that that works. It's because there's been a lot of talk lately, I guess. The latest release of the Mega SG being a slightly different hardware build, and as such, existing jailbreaks would not work. Well, recently a jailbreak was released that'll work with the old and the new releases of the console, and I figured, you know what? Let me jailbreak this because I haven't yet. Probably not going to use some of the features that the jailbreak allows you to do, such as loading your own ROMs off of an SD card, because I don't really need that. I'll just pop my cartridges in and that's it. But one of the neat things about this is that you can load up a custom Sega CD Bios, or more importantly, a Mega CD Bios from either PAL regions, Europe, or the Japanese one as well, which is great because that would let you play games from those regions. Unfortunately, I don't have any games from those regions, so I can't really fully test functionality, although I have a way I can probably work around that. But let's go ahead and turn this on. We'll boot up the Sega CD with the stock BIOS, and then I'll show you how to switch the BIOS out to another region. We can see how that looks. All right, let me pan up here. I'm going to get a weird angle of the screen. Game room's kind of a mess. I'm rearranging things again, but let's go ahead and first we'll go to settings here, and we go to core options. And this is the setting you want to enable when you want to use a replacement BIOS. It is turned off right now, just, because I want to just boot up the stock Sega CD Bios. And as you can see, version 2.0, I'm not sure if the mic is picking up the background music or not. But that is the Sega CD Model 2 background theme if you're in North America. But let's go ahead and change that to another one. So settings, core options, we'll use replacement BIOS, and let's go ahead and choose E for Europe. And then we'll back out and rerun cartridge, and that should reset everything. And there you go. The Mega CD Bios from version 1, so that would be the tray loading model. I don't know if I have a copy of the version 2 BIOS, but as you can see right there, it's not the North American one. Now, since I don't have any PAL region games, I can't really test if they'll work. What I can try to do is the one Sega CD game I do have, which is a North American one, see if it'll work in here, which in theory it should not. So let me go grab that real quick and we'll see if it boots. So if you remember the repair that I did on the Sega CD, the only game that I actually have is a copy of Cobra Command. It is a North American game, but let's see what happens if I load it up on the North American Sega CD, but running the PAL BIOS. The other neat thing, I don't know if you see at the bottom there, it says press reset to open the CD tray. That's because there was no eject button on the Model 1 Sega CD or Mega CD. So, reset. Let's see what happens. In theory, it should not work. And it reads it as a audio CD and not a game, interestingly enough. Now let's do this here. Let's change the BIOS to the Japanese one because that is NTSC. And I'm just curious to see if it will start the game anyway or not. Here's the Japanese BIOS screen. Same theme song as the European one. Still reads it just as a audio CD, interestingly enough. However, maybe there's something wrong with the unit. Maybe there's something wrong with the disc. So let's go ahead and I'm going to force it to use the version 2.0 BIOS for North America just to see. And it doesn't like that BIOS file. Let's try another one. There we go. and the game boots. So, well, again, I can't test functionality of playing non-North American games. I can at least test that North American games won't work with those foreign BIOS. That being said, though, I'm kind of curious. Can I change the BIOS to version 1.0 of the Sega CD? Technically, it worked with the PAL and Japanese one. Let's see, Sega CD version 1 BIOS. And let's run cartridge. And it is running, and that is the theme from the Model 1 Sega CD. And I remember that one because I used to have a Model 1 Sega CD. So, let's see if it'll play games though. And it does. So what's the point of all of this? Well, being able to load a previous version of the BIOS is probably not going to do much for you other than nostalgia, or vice versa if you've got a Model 1 and want to try the BIOS from the Model 2. Maybe there's a possibility that there's a game or two out there that won't work with one version of the Sega CD, but it'll work with another. So you can use that option to switch to BIOS and get your game to work. But more importantly, it should allow you to play non-North American games on your North American console, right? And vice versa. If you're in PAL region, you can switch to BIOS over to Japanese or North American, and same thing with Japan. So that's kind of neat that you have this option now. So you can sit there and, I know Sega CD games in general are kind of pricey. I don't know if Mega CD games are pricey as well or not. I know on the Saturn side of things, North American Saturn games can be much more money than they are with their Japanese counterparts. So a lot of people will import them and try to save some money that way and then just run translation patches. So if that's the same thing with the Sega CD, well, you do have options now to build a collection out without blowing the bank. So that's, I know it's not super exciting video, but I really thought it was kind of neat that you could do that. And I wasn't sure about loading up the old BIOS. You can, that's really neat. So for me, it's the BIOS that I'm going to be using because I'm very nostalgic with that one, of course. Actually, there's one more that I want to try. Let me see. I'm going to do the CDX. Let's run cartridge. And it looks like it's going to be the same BIOS screen, same theme song as the Sega CD Model 2, but a newer version of the BIOS, 2.21. So that's it. Again, not super exciting video, but I thought it'd be a little informative, or at the very least, kind of like a fun thing to do. So have you guys tried this functionality yet? If you have a Mega SG, have you tried the Jailbreak, and have you tried loading different BIOS files? Does anyone know if there are custom BIOS files out there for the Sega CD? If so, leave some info in the comments below. You won't be able to leave links, but you should be able to leave like a description and stuff like that. Otherwise, guys, thanks all for watching. I'll catch you later.